This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, so let's continue in the Halachos in Hilchos Netilas Yadayim. Hilchos.
Delete.
Yeah. Well, we have to use the deli for Netilas Yadayim. Shkayach. Okay, so now we have to get two things straight. The most important thing is there are two inyanim of Netilas Yadayim in the morning. One is what we call Negel Vaser. You go to sleep at night, the neshama leaves the body. When the neshama leaves the body, there is a vacuum of kedusha. Vacuum of kedusha, the koichos hatuma come onto the body. The neshama comes back into the body, it chases away the tumah. The tumah is left on the fingers and on the feet. That's why you should not put your fingers in your mouth before you wash, and in general you should not put your toes in your mouth. And avoid putting your foot in your mouth at all times. But, so the question is, why don't we wash our feet? So I believe the Ben Ish Chai writes that in the Beis Hamikdash, where you needed increased tahara, so you had to wash your feet. But nowadays, but don't put your feet in your mouth. Now, this is for Tumah, it's for Kabbalistic reasons. Negel Vaser is a Kabbalistic idea. It's a very serious idea. In Maran Bet Yosef writes, very severe oynesh for someone who walks 4 cubits without washing Negel Vaser. It's not brought in the Shulchan Aruch. Why? It's very difficult to understand why the Shulchan Aruch did not bring what he writes in the Beis Yosef. It seems like it's an idea of mutav sheyu shoygegen, because it's so severe, and if he writes it explu, which is difficult to understand. The bottom line is Negel Vaser is Kabbalistic, but then there's an entirely different reason to wash your hands in the morning, and in most cases you're going to be required to wash your hands twice every morning. Once as soon as you get up, and then there's another Netilas Yadayim for Shachris. Netilas, and this is not Kabbalistic, it's a halacha midina de Gemara. And that is the famous machlokes, the Rosh and the Rashba. The Rosh says that at night your hands are busy, Yadayim askani yosem, and your hand probably scratched your head and scratched other sweaty parts of your body. And without getting into the gory details, who knows where your hands went? And therefore, your hands are unclean for davening. You cannot wash your hands if you cannot daven if you don't wash your hands. So you say, according to the Rosh, then I have to wash my hands for Mincha Marav. Avado, you have to wash your hands for Mincha Marav. According to the Rosh, maybe you have to make a bracha for Mincha Marav. Yes, you do, according to the Rosh. And that's why the Gra, following the Rosh, held, you do make Netilas Yadayim for all the tefillos of the day. However, there's another reason, and that's the Rashba. And the Rashba holds that every morning you're a new creation. Chadashim labakarim rabba emunasecha. You're a new being. Hashem recreated you. Hashem was mechadesh betuvay b'chayim tameh. And the same way a kohen in the Beis Hamikdash inaugurates his avodah by washing from the kiyar, you cannot start your avodas Hashem in the morning without washing your hands. Nothing to do with Negel Vaser, not because of tumah. It's just a chinuch avodah. Now, according to that, it's only for Shachris. It's not for Mincha and Marav. So, lahalacha, before Mincha, you are absolutely obligated to wash Netilas Yadayim. Irrespective, your hands are clean, not clean, dirty, not dirty. You must wash your hands for Mincha. You must wash your hands for Marav. You're going to daven in the Young Israel, where they don't have the sink yet at the 10 o'clock. So you wash your hands at home. You have to wash your hands before today. If you daven Mincha Marav back to back, you are guarding your hands the whole time. You do not have to wash. You don't have to step out for Marav. But if there's a break, whatever, you're davening Mincha Marav separately, you must wash your hands. You do not make a bracha for Mincha Marav. But for Shachris, you must make a bracha. The bracha is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kedeshanu B'Mitzvot Tzivanu Al Netilas Yadayim. You're not eating bread. It's different than eating bread. Eating bread, you're washing your hands for bread. This, you're washing your hands for Shachris. Okay, so there's Negel Vaser and there's Netilas Yadayim for Shachris. The reason why you're going to probably have to wash your hands twice in the morning is because after you wash Negel Vaser, you can go to the bathroom and Nachamal, your hands are dirty. So therefore, you wash again. Now, the best way to do it is either right before you leave your house in the morning, you wash your hands again, you say Al Netilas Yadayim, you say Asher Yatzar, you say Elokai Neshama, and you say Berchas HaTorah. Why is that? That's probably the best thing to do. Why is it the best thing to do? This way you could learn on your way to shul. Otherwise, what are you going to do on the way to shul? Another option is, right when you come to shul, you wash your hands, you say, An Natilas Yadayim, Asher Yatzar, Lekei Neshama, Berachas HaTorah. The advantage of way A is, on the way to shul, you can be Mekayim Sheish Mitzvahs Tamidiyos, which you really could be Mekayim even if your hands are dirty, but you could think about in Yanei Kedusha. That's the best thing. You wake up in the morning, the best thing is you have by your bed, next to your bed, you have a basin, you have a cup, and you wash negel vaser by your bed. That's the best thing to do. Oh, it's so hard. It costs $7. Go to the store and get yourself a deli. Rosh Chodesh Shvat. What are you supposed to do on Rosh Chodesh Shvat? L'chara, if you don't have the negel vaser, you get yourself the negel vaser. What's going to happen? No, my wife's not going to be happy. So you get her one too. You get his and hers negel vaser. You could get her name embroidered on it, whatever. You should try to do it. If you can't do it, then you're soymech on the shitos that the whole house is dalet amos. So, which means the whole room is dalet amos. So that means you have a sink in your room, not in a bathroom, in your room. Or you're soymech on Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, who says that when they killed Avraham ben Avraham at the stake, the tumah of negel vaser vanished. Or you're soymech on Kaf HaChaim, that if you go to sleep after Chatzos, there's no Ruach Ra in the morning. That means you go to sleep very late. Or you're soymech on the shitos that the Ruach HaTumah is not as strong today. But the Mishnah Berurah brings down that l'chatchila, it's a good idea not to walk dalet amos without negel vaser.
Question. If you touch, there's a big fear of touching your eyes or
right.
So what happens if another guy doesn't wash negel vaser and you touched him? So that's like, why does it not transfer?
Okay, so that's a good.
Transfers from you to yourself.
That's a good segue. In other words, we know the hands have tumah. We're going to see you shouldn't touch your eyes, which means not only open eyes, even on top of the eyes, even on top of the ears, even on top of the nose. But if someone else touches you, you're not. It doesn't contaminate. Let's say someone doesn't wash negel vaser. He touches a sefer. The sefer is not tameh now. It's only if it goes into an orifice, an opening.
But if he touches your eye,
it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah, you should. So if you have, let's say, random people roaming around your house.
You have a doctor. You go to an ophthalmologist who's a non-observant or whatever.
So you ask him to wear gloves.
I'm going to ask my next.
Well, okay. So just off the bat, the bagel store. Jose's a nice guy. You know, he takes your change, you give him 20, he gives you a few cents change. Jose is very respectful of Jews. He doesn't wash negel vaser. So he's touching every bagel. They don't wear gloves. No, they don't wear gloves.
They don't have an neshama. I don't know.
So the answer is Pashup Pshat. The Shulchan Aruch Harav writes that for Gentiles there's no problem. Because what brings the tumah vacuum of kedusha? There is no vacuum of kedusha. They don't have kedusha, so there's no inyan of tumas negel vaser by goyim. The question is, what about if the guy behind the counter on the bagel store, his name is Mike, he's a Jew, and he's not observant, and he's smearing his un-negel vasered hands all over your food? What do you do? So the place can basically say that the heter is that in the course of the morning, most civilized people end up getting their hands wet at least 3 times. First, they wash their hands after they come to the bathroom. They brush their teeth. They shower. By the time he gets to your bagel, so all he's putting in your bagel is bacteria, viruses, but you don't have to worry about the ruach ra. Now, according to many poskim, even if he just got his hands wet 1 time, that's enough that he doesn't destroy your bagel and your entire spiritual activity for the rest of your life. So that's basically the heter. So in other words, you don't have to ask the guy, before you smear my bagel, would you mind washing negel vaser? Yeah.
Someone told me that he remembered in Borough Park, in one of the bakeries, all the employees, before they start, they had to do
negel vaser?
Like 20 years ago, he remember as a kid, he saw me now in the
yeah. And they say they charge $20 extra for that service per cookie, you know? But yeah, it could be.
Is there a delay between Asher Yatzar and saying the bracha, or going to the bathroom and saying Asher Yatzar, if let's say we waited till, let's say, going downstairs, washing your hands?
Yeah, you could delay, yeah. In the morning,
And
yeah.
Is there a time limit on that delay between Ashiyatzar and going to the bathroom and Ashiyatzar?
There's no specific time. As long as you're getting ready to go get out in the morning, you could delay the Ashiyatzar until right before you leave the house. The question is about children. The kid's 1 year old. He's eating finger food. You put him in the high chair, right? You know, what do you do with the kid? You have to get ready. So you strap him in jail in the high chair and you put finger food on the thing, and you come back, a few hours later. That's most... The thing is, he just ate 200 Cheerios with contamination of negavasa. So the answer is, that's the least of your problems. You strapped him in there for 2 hours, you traumatize the kid. But let's say you only did it for a few minutes. How can you do that? So the Shulchan Aruch Harav basically says that the Kedusha of the Neshama really doesn't come until Bar Mitzvah. The Zohar says that a person is not a Jew until their Bar Mitzvah. Therefore, Negavasser is only mechuyev by Bar Mitzvah. However, from the age of Chinuch already, there's some Kedusha, so there's some Tumah. Therefore, from the age of Chinuch, you should really train your children. At 6 or 7, you're mechuyev to train your kids to wash Negavasser. Before then, there is an inyan to try to wash your kids' hands as soon as they start touching the food. It is a proper thing to do. As soon as a kid is starting to touch his food, kid's a little baby, he's 3 months old, your ba, whatever you're doing, okay, I believe Rabbi Yaakov Emden writes that you want to wash the kid's hands for negavasa from the moment he's born, kadosh amar lai. But a good get there is from the time the kid starts to eat with his hands, it's proper to.
If the baby is jaundice, yellow, is to do negavasa. That's what the mouth says.
So again, it's not obligatory. It's not obligatory. I would say obligatory is from the age of chinuch. Again, absolutely obligatory is bar mitzvah. Halachically imperative from age of chinuch. Before, it's hanhaga toiva from the time that they start to eat. Again, the kid's a little bit. He doesn't want to. You don't have to. I would say you don't have to traumatize a kid to have him wash negelvasser because you learned one time. Again, it's all, you have to know the levels. From 13, it's absolute chiyuv. From chinuch, it's halachically recommended, or we'll say more than that. It's required from the age of chinuch, on the chinuch level, and before that, depending on the circumstance. So let's see a few halachas. Number aleph. In liga b'mabushav ashayito yadav. Don't even touch your clothing before negel vaser. So you say, how am I supposed to get dressed? Well, that's one of the advantages of having the negel vaser by your bed. But v'yesh makilin, there are those who are makel, again, because you're not really transferring tumah to your shirt. Now, your shirt's not an eye. There's no opening there. It's a chumrah. Lo yito chaluka miyad hashamish shachris afilu hashamish kvar nato yadav. Well, let's say your butler, Elliot Hakayin. Let's say your butler in your house, right? He comes, he wakes up. Elliot, it's already dawn. It's time for you to get up. Here are your clothing for the day. I say, pal, you could prepare my breakfast, but I will be getting my own clothing. I'm only picking on you, and not because it could be I could pick on anybody. But don't take your clothing from your butler. Even if you already washed negel you should take your clothing yourself. It sounds like it's a Kabbalistic reason for this. Gimel, yesh lirchaitz b'chol yom panav yadav v'raglav. Recommended hygienic practice is to wash every day your face, your hands, and your feet. In our communities, we don't go barefoot. Ein sarch lirchaitz raglav shachris. You don't have to wash your hands in the morning. But there's an inyan of washing your face in the morning. Now, I would venture to say most people don't do that, unless they take a shower. But it's a saintly practice to wash your face every day in honor of tefillah. Your hands you wash anyway. To wash your face, it's considered a sign of respect for the davening. Daled.
Does one have to wash the water off from the Netilas Yadayim first and then wash your face? Or from that last 6th one or 8th one, could they just splash that remaining water on it?
No, wash your face. It doesn't mean to, put a drop on it. Wash your face means wash your face. So the answer is like this: the sixth one you shouldn't, the eighth one you could, because the sixth one is still tamei. That's the reason why we really wash each hand 4 times, is to get off the third round, which is tamei from negel vasa. So number 7 and 8, meaning number 4 for each hand, is good. Number 3 on each hand, better not. Okay, now Shachris. This is also an important thing. Some are noig to wash out their mouth in the morning. I believe it comes from the Chuvas Harashba, that so your mouth is clean to be able to say Hashem's name. Now, most people do this, and if you don't do this, aside from anything you learn over here, it's a recommended practice to brush your teeth twice a day, and if you use mouthwash, we all would appreciate that as well. But the point is that everyone's going to be using the mouthwash, but not everyone is mechavein that they're washing out their mouth so that their mouth should be clean to say the Shem Hashem. Most people use the mouthwash so that they could retain their occupation and their career. However, you should be mechavein to wash out your mouth to be able to say the Shem Havaya.
Even if it's in the bathroom?
What?
Even if
you could be mechavein that. Yeah. V'imhu ist, okay. It's a good practice. So we're just in Morocco. So one of the safety warnings in Morocco is not to clean out your mouth with the sink water. Not recommended. So I had a bottle of water, So, but let's say somebody doesn't want to put the water in their mouth, it's not clean. Ein ma'akim levarech. It's not ma'aki. You're still allowed to say a bracha if you don't wash out your mouth. What about on a tiny sibur? No. You could forego this chumrah. Tiny sibur, you don't rinse out your mouth. Don't say, there's a kula, there's a shita that holds that if I put my mouth like that to make sure, and I put in a little bit of water, no, better not to rely on that. Do not brush your teeth. Better not to clean out your mouth on a tiny sibur. Unless you're mamish in istanis. Halacha hey. This will be the last one.
All the tanis, no, not just like
So other tanesim, if you use a dry brush, l'chara, there's nothing wrong with using a dry brush. You want to scrape off whatever's there. L'chara, that's okay. To rinse out your mouth on a regular tanis, you need yesh mekilim, but unless the person has a specific need, according to the baseline halacha, it's better to avoid it.
I mean, sometimes you can wake up early and do it before
Zman. Exactly. No, if you wake up and you eat before the Zman, so then brush your teeth. Okay, one more. This is very common. People go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Do you make Asher Yatzar in the middle of the night? Or could you rely on Asher Yatzar in the morning?
I do.
It's better to make Asher Yatzar in the middle of the night. Halacha, if you go to the bathroom, urinate in the middle of the night. Lo yismech al Asher Yatzar b'shachris. Do not rely on Asher Yatzar in the morning. Elo yitol yadav. Wash your hands. V'yilbosh mechnasayim. Put on underwear. A yachgar b'shum davar, or put on a belt. Lahafsik bein libel ever. Back in the day, they wore a nightgown. They wore like a robe. So there's no separation between the heart and the erva, so they can't make a bracha. So either put on undergarment or put on the belt. And vivarach Asher Yatzar. Now on Shabbos morning we spoke that you're supposed to make Asher Yatzar with more kavana than unasana toikef. That Rabbi Chanan said in Asher Yatzar like he said Ne'ilah. And Rav Shlomo Zalman said Asher Yatzar like he said Ne'ilah. And the Divrei Chaim said you're supposed to say Asher Yatzar with more kavana than unasana toikef. Because you don't even have to say unasana toikef. It's just a minhag. You say it, you don't say it, it doesn't really matter. But Asher Yatzar takana d'Rabbanon, you have to say it with more kavana than, so it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and now I'm going through my mind, it's like haunting me. Rabbi Chanan said Asher Yatzar, like he said Ne'ilah. So you got to put on your belt and make a nice Asher Yatzar. You have to make sure you're far enough away from the toilet when you say the Asher Yatzar, Dalet Amos. If you're in that room, if it's not a pit designated for meraglayim, you could dilute it with water and every time you're mashtem. Okay, we'll talk about more Negavasa next time.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.